What's going on, guys? I just realized you could not hear me. So let me know if you guys can hear me now. Should be good now. So I'm going to give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we will get started. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Good to hear. And let me go ahead and see if I can adjust a few things real quick. All right, let's see if I can adjust the chat. Here we go. All right. I know the chat's kind of in a weird spot, but we'll just keep it here for now so you guys can see what everyone is saying. But good to see you guys. So we got Hootie Coffee, Luca, Aki Lights, Costas, Tim, Logan, Ephes, XXX. Good to see you guys here. All right, awesome, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go over a lot of stuff today. Going to go over the FOMC meeting, over the Trump and China meeting, and then why everything dropped and where we're going from here. So also, before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys saw Luke's message in the Telegram. So make sure that you guys are checking that out. I'll go ahead and actually post that, or actually show you guys. So here, let me bring that to the top real quick. All right, guys. So if you guys haven't seen Luke's message, he posted something in the free Telegram group. So for anyone who's not in there, make sure you guys are checking this, okay? Make sure you guys are checking this. Listen to his voice message. He has a lot of good stuff, guys. He has some big things coming. So make sure you go sign up for this wait list here, and you are getting in ASAP. It's going to be awesome. So just want to mention that just in case you guys haven't seen it or haven't listened to his message. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So past 24 hours of liquidations, $1.1 billion. Remember what we said about these liquidations, guys, is whenever you get over $1 billion, it marks a bottom within the next 1 to 3 days. Okay, it marks a local bottom. So that's the big thing, is you guys need to check that. Is these liquidations, they play out, I would say 80-85% of the time. And so I'm expecting a local bottom within the next 1 to 3 days. I know that's saying a lot because that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but nonetheless, I do think it's near, okay? The market's always volatile. It always does what you don't expect, and so that's what we're looking at right now. Now, looking at the liquidation levels for liquidity-wise on the heat map. So the 1 week is showing a lot of liquidity to the upside. Look at that. 112K and beyond, guys. A lot of liquidity, where the downside, not so much. And so you have to ask yourself, if we have one more flush, I mean, I'll say a bounce near 105.5 at the lowest. That'd be a good level to bid, in my opinion. So watching that. Now, you can also look at the 24-hour. Again, 24-hour isn't as accurate, isn't as good, but nonetheless, something to watch out for. 24-hour tag liquidity to the upside. Now we're looking at 105.5 again. Okay, so that would be the level to bid if you're looking to bid lower. So keep an eye on that. Next, let's go ahead and look at some news items on the macro front. So Costa says he's already in the watch list, or the wait list, for Luke's link. So awesome, guys. Make sure y'all are listening to his voice notes and signing up for that wait list. Again, a lot of good stuff that Luke is coming out with. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and go over a few things. Let's see. Just got a text real quick. All right, so right now we have Robinhood, obviously, is very bullish on Bitcoin, right? Tyler Winklevoss supported CZ getting pardoned. Now, JP Morgan also is allowing institutional clients to use Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral. That's an awesome change because in 2017, they called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme. And now they're allowing people to use it to get mortgages. How funny is that? Also, we had Trump imposing 10% tariffs on Canada. Again, the thing between Canada and the U.S., it's a nothing burger because it's known that they don't have good relations, and Canada doesn't control much. And so really, the market wasn't affected by this. Now, another thing is Scott Bessent was working to have good negotiations with some of President Xi's advisors. So great to see on that front before Trump and President Xi had the meeting. Also, some big updates was Zelle is to allow crypto stablecoins for international transactions. So I'm sure a lot of you guys use Zelle. You can use it to transfer money between banks instantaneously. I love using Zelle, but now you can use it for stablecoin transfers, which is going to be amazing. Also, you have gold, which was falling, right? Remember that we talked about the inverse correlation between Bitcoin and gold. When gold falls, Bitcoin rises and vice versa. I think gold is going to come to a temporary bottom soon. But at the same time, remember, we had those $1 billion liquidation, so it potentially could form a bottom very soon as well. So any short-term bounce in gold, I believe, will probably get sold off into. Also, we have the U.S. Department of Energy is announcing a $1 billion partnership with AMD to build 2 supercomputers. And so pay attention, guys, to what they're investing in. AMD is a very, very large company, as well as very big in AI and GPUs, obviously. So there's going to be a lot of good things coming down the pipeline for AI, robotics, quantum, computing, etc. And so pay attention to those narratives, guys. We'll talk about those a little bit as well. Now, also, Trump was saying that he may announce a new Federal Reserve chair by the end of the year to replace Jerome Powell. It's going to be very interesting if this happens, because I'll mention, a couple things later on about Powell's comments. His unwillingness to potentially cut rates in December, which is what caused a lot of volatility we've seen over the past few days. But I think if Trump replaces him, it's going to be short-term bullish. I think whatever Fed chair comes on board, they're going to cut rates by 50, 75, even 100 basis points. You're really going to see the market pump if that happens. So keep an eye on that. Also, you have Citibank partnering with Coinbase to improve stablecoin utility and digital asset adoption for its clients. Again, more Web 2 companies adopting with Web 3. And then you have Eric Trump saying the UAE and other major countries are actively buying Bitcoin. And so, guys, these other countries, these nation states, institutions are actively buying Bitcoin. What do you think is going to happen when the U.S. announces an accumulation plan for the SBR? More of these countries are going to announce an SBR. More of them are going to buy more Bitcoin. And you're going to see, if these countries are buying Bitcoin at these prices, do you think they're going to let it go to 90, 80, 70, 60, 50K? Right? They're in it for the long term. They're looking at 150, 200, 250K and higher. That's why I would say don't get so focused on the short-term volatility. I know it's been annoying the past couple months, to say the least. This bull market is very interesting. It hasn't really been a bull market per se. Any type of pump gets sold off into within a week. And so you got to take profits, guys. We always harp on taking profits ASAP. And even though the stock market's going higher, crypto isn't following suit. And so I think now what you're seeing is stocks are seen as that flight to safety, and crypto is much more risk on. Therefore, if there's any uncertainty in the market at all, crypto is the first thing that gets sold off into. And stocks are seen more as a safe haven, which is very interesting. But again, crypto's still volatile, so you can't blame anyone for doing that. Then also you have Amazon firing 30,000 employees. So this is actually part of the AI narrative I mentioned earlier that's gaining traction, is when you have robots doing things that humans can do, but 5-10 times more efficient, 24/7, doesn't need sleep, doesn't need food, water, etc. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to these other jobs? And so you got to find a job that's AI proof. Like Luke always says, find something that's AI proof. His recent Capital Club meeting. Curious, guys, did anyone here go to Luke's Capital Club meeting that he just had in Dubai? I'm curious if anyone here went to it. But that's where you have to find these jobs. You have to be AI proof. Try to become efficient with AI. There's tons of opportunities with it. Crypto is a great way, but also look for other things you can do in e-com. Like Luke mentioned in his Telegram message. E-com is just starting, guys, especially with Q4. Also, you have Apple beating their earnings. Third company in history to reach $4 trillion market cap. We're at the Federal Reserve. They cut interest rates by 25 basis points, but like I said, there's hesitation for a 50 basis point. We'll talk about that in a minute. OpenAI is actually going to IPO at a $1 trillion valuation, which is crazy. And then NVIDIA is also going to invest $1 billion in Nokia. And then Western Union is going to launch their own stablecoin on Solana in 2026. NVIDIA actually partnered with Palantir recently, which is another reason why NVIDIA went over $2,000. Then you have Polymarket is going to launch in the next few weeks. And you have Peter Schiff saying Bitcoin's a bubble that's about to pop. Interesting comments by Peter Schiff. I would say his success rate is about 50-50. So again, not something to ignore, but not something to put too much emphasis on. Then also, you had Trump having good relations with Japan and having some good meetings with President Xi. Now, also, one thing to keep in mind, Michael Saylor is saying that he thinks Bitcoin's going to reach 150K by the end of this year. So guys, I have a question for you all. Do you think that Bitcoin is going to reach 150K by the end of the year? Just comment 1 for yes or 0 for no. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Do you think Bitcoin will reach 150,000 by the end of this year? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Curious what everyone thinks on that. Ooh, a lot of yeses. Interesting. All right. Something I'm watching. Now, all right. Stoned in Paradise said 2. He thinks neither. Interesting. Peak Within said 3. Oh, he's super bullish there. Interesting, guys. Okay, so it looks like about 60% say yes, about 40%, 35% say no, and then 5% probably think much, much higher. Interesting. So, let's see. Maximilian, do you think I'm Luke Belmar? Question for you. That's awesome you're reading Trading in the Zone, though. Great, great book. Great, great book. I am not Luke Belmar. Spoiler alert. My name is John Luke. Close name. Similar names, but not the same person. But to talk about the FOMC, guys. So, FOMC, what happened? And why did we... Okay, gotcha. Appreciate it, Maximilian. Why did we drop after the FOMC meeting? Why did we liquidate $300 billion of longs 15 minutes post-FOMC? Well, a couple of reasons for that. One, Jerome Powell actually said that, one, he's cutting rates by 25 basis points, and 2, he's going to end quantitative tightening by December 1st. That sounds bullish, right? Because it is. But where things went sour was his outlook. Someone asked him, hey, the stock market is pricing in like you're going to cut rates in December, like it's a certainty. And Jerome Powell said, no, it's definitely not a foregone conclusion that we're cutting rates. And he even hinted that he may hold rates steady now because of inflation concerns, etc. So that means, guys, that if Jerome Powell holds rates steady and doesn't cut rates in December, what does that mean for the market? Well, even if QT ends in December, if rates stay steady, it's almost like basically a balance, right? They cancel out each other. And so if you look at history, when QT ends, crypto usually drops 42% on average. And then when QE starts, that's when crypto starts pumping. Usually it's within 3 months, 3 to 6 months, so it's a while. Now, something that could counteract this is, well, if rates keep getting cut and then the Fed starts injecting more liquidity, that could counteract that delay. But in the meantime, stocks may be a better investment. Okay, and I'm just talking out loud here because based off history, that may be something to consider. So that's why the market was very negative after the FOMC meeting, is because Jerome Powell was saying he may hold rates steady from now on. So very interesting, guys. Very, very interesting. Now, other than that, let's see what else happened. Well, we had MasterCard acquiring crypto startup Zero Hash for nearly $2 billion. And then we had South Korea agreeing to pay $350 billion to the U.S. to lower tariffs. That was good. Now, also, this was the big thing here, when Trump met with President Xi in South Korea yesterday. Now, what happened in this meeting? Well, yes, there were some positive announcements, right? Trump was lowering some of the tariffs on China, and then there were a few other things. But Trump said they didn't talk about everything for whatever reason. And so I think that kind of caused the negative sentiment. I think maybe people knew they were going to meet and knew there was going to be some type of positive resolution, so people front ran it with pumping in the market. But the fact that they didn't talk about everything, I don't know if there was any clear certainty or resolution on Trump slapping more tariffs on November 1st. But nonetheless, that is something as well to keep in mind, okay? Is when you do have these meetings and they don't talk about everything that they had planned. And so again, still raises that uncertainty. Something to keep in mind. Santos says, love the live stream. Hey, appreciate it, guys. And if you guys could like the live stream, we have 21 likes and 78 viewers. So if you guys could like it, that'd be awesome. Also, we have JP Morgan to launch investment fund tokenization platform in 2026. JP Morgan says crypto and stablecoins will be used by all major banks to facilitate better transactions. Love to see it. Then you have Coinbase buying $299 million worth of Bitcoin in Q3 2025. Awesome to see. And then Michael Saylor reported a $2.8 billion profit. Now, remember in my market update, whenever Michael Saylor bought some Bitcoin, I can scroll down and show you guys. Whenever Michael Saylor actually bought some Bitcoin, that is when we had a local top. I believe that was October 27th. I just want to show you guys real quick. Where is it at? Here we go. Michael Saylor's strategy buys 390 Bitcoin with 45 million. Whenever Michael Saylor does this, usually we have a local top. And that's exactly what happened. So something to keep in mind, guys, for the future. But nonetheless, let's go and look at some of the market. So the macro. So the S&P potentially topping out here, forming a hammer candle, right? A little inverse hammer. Could be a reversal candle, bearish divergence. If the S&P goes down, crypto's going down with it. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Now, again, I'm still going to be longing at major support, but my TP levels aren't going to be as high. I'm going to keep them tighter. So again, we may not get the 78% profits that we got from today from the Sol short, but we can still get in the 30 to 50% range. But nonetheless, you always got to manage your risk accordingly. So the S&P potentially could drop here down to 6650 and then 6400 below that. Now gold, on the other hand, could be reaching that support above $4,000. So you can see the RSI is just crossing below its signal line, but it could bounce off of that, meaning we could see gold near all-time highs by December again. And then what could that mean for Bitcoin? Well, they have an inverse correlation, so Bitcoin could drop if gold ends up bouncing here. Now, if gold closes the weekly below 4,000, it's going to be very bullish for us. At that point, you could expect a nice bounce on Bitcoin, because do remember that we did have over $1 billion liquidations, which does mark a local top within 1 to 3 days. Don says, why does Saylor buying there call for a local top? Don, because Saylor is known for buying local tops. It's just the way he is. Like whenever he buys local tops, whenever he buys Bitcoin, it's usually local top within a couple of days. I don't know why, but it's just, I don't know if people are watching him or selling, using him as exit liquidity, whatever it is, but it's always almost like the inverse Kramer, right? When Jim Cramer calls for, buying, usually it's the top. Kind of similar there. A weird correlation with that, but just the way it is. And then oil futures right now around 60, nothing crazy there. And then the DXY, this is something to keep an eye on. DXY was near 99.50, so potential resistance here. If it rejects, we could see Bitcoin have a little relief rally. But if the DXY closes above, let's say the DXY closes above 99.70, then it's going to 100. And that is actually going to cause some more downward pressure in Bitcoin because they are inversely correlated. So keep an eye on that. Maximilian says, my longs on MSTR are getting wrecked. Never thought it'd go that low. Exactly. Yeah, guys, that's the thing. Is when the market's good, it's good. But when it's bad, look out below. Okay? So, and I'll talk about TA. And I'll talk about some of the charts too in a minute. But just look at the market. Bitcoin's at 107.4, Ethereum 37.50, Tether $1. Tether $1. Yes, it's always $1. BNB at 1,062. Now looking at the 24 hours, top gainers, meme core, and then basically some stable coins. Now, Aster's getting wrecked as well. That's why I told you guys I am not getting an Aster until it closes the daily above 120. I'm not interested in it. Even these top gainers, like just some random coins, okay? Some memes, right? Something on Near, Aurora, and a few others. But yeah, guys, you got to be careful in this market. You got to take profits quickly. You got to set your stops. If you don't have stop losses, you will get wrecked, okay? And so this is when it pays to be patient. Sometimes the best trade is no trade at all. Now, also, we have the Fear and Greed Index at 34. Something to keep in mind here is whenever it gets lower like this, yes, you can start looking for buy orders, right? Start looking for those limit orders, place those stink bids much lower. Because here's the thing. When it gets below 20, extreme fear, that's when you buy. That's when it's almost a blind buy, okay? Yes, you buy at major support on the day they're weekly, but when it gets below 20, that's when really the risk reward is on your side. Now, below 40, when it's in fear, yes. Obviously, this is still good. Could this be one of these, though? Like we had at the beginning of the year, where it gets in that fear area and then just keeps going down lower, right? So, if it does get this low, I assume Bitcoin will be below 100K. But it's going to be a good buying level. So, I will be watching that. But like I said, you can dabble because we are at 34. Somewhat good level. But when it gets closer to 20, then I'll really be looking to hit the gas on those buys. But I'll keep you all updated either way. Now let's look at ETF flows. So Bitcoin negative 470 million. This is what you want to see, guys. When you're looking for local bottoms, you want to see these large ETF outflows, especially if they're a couple days in a row. That usually marks the bottom. Just like these massive days of inflows, I mean, not massive, but consistent days of inflows means a top is near. Just like, look, multiple days of outflows, boom, huge day of inflow after. And then we had a lot of inflows after that. So look for these consistent days, multiple days in a row of outflows or inflows. Usually it marks local top, local bottom. Now look at Ethereum. Bitcoin had negative 470 million. Ethereum only had negative 81 million. So institutions are actually buying Ethereum. BlackRock had 21 million of inflows, where I believe it had negative 80 million of outflows for Bitcoin. So keep an eye on Ethereum, guys. Remember, the BlackRock staking ETF should be approved today. Keep an eye on that. Let me know, guys. There wasn't any news on it when I looked an hour ago. Maybe it could have changed, but that's something to watch out for as well. Is the comparison between Ethereum and Bitcoin flows. And then Solana is actually gaining some traction as well because it added Bitwise, Grayscale, right? So it had 47 million of inflows. So slowly but surely, it's getting higher. So something to keep in mind there. Now let's go ahead and look at the charts. So Bitcoin, 107.5. I am not interested in Bitcoin until it gets to around 105 to 106K. That's where I look to buy. 105 to 106. You look at the RSI, it's crossing below its signal line. Stock RSI still has bearish momentum. Liquidity in your Bitcoin is 105 to 106. Now, something as a caveat is what I mentioned in one of my market updates. I said, okay, Bitcoin's making higher lows. But look at this. It's actually, I mean, it's really close right now. It would need to close above 107.6K. If it closes above 107.6K, it's technically a higher low, and then we're still in an uptrend. Now, the only thing I don't like is it's closing below its 200 EMA. That's not the end-all be-all, because you saw what happened here. It closed below it, and then it still bounced above it, okay? That could potentially happen here as well. Very possible. But just keep that in mind, guys, is if we make a higher low, we're technically still in the bullish uptrend. But keep in mind that it's getting close. The weekly closes in 1 hour and 20 minutes, so something I'm watching. But if it closes below, then I'll be looking for some longs down here around 105 to 106 potentially. Because we do have liquidity, remember, from the liquidity heat map, we do have liquidity near 105.5. That's why I'd be looking to buy near here. Resistance-wise, I would look at, I mean, if it closes below, then 108 would be resistance, right? Near this 200 EMA as well. That'd be resistance, 108. And then above that, you have 110, 112, and then 113.2 to 114. So we'll just play it level by level if that happens. Now looking at Ethereum, bull flag. Remember, we've been talking about this bull flag forever. Let me tell you guys something. The long of your life on Ethereum is going to be 3,600, 35 to 36. Let me tell you why. Look at the confluence we have on here. 3,600 horizontal support, 3,600 on the daily 200 EMA, 3,600 on the trend line support. 3 areas of confluence here, guys. If this lines up as well with an RSI, a daily RSI or stock RSI that's oversold, you know how bullish that's going to be? I'm telling you guys, 35 to 3,600, great long area. Stop loss would be, I mean, I hate it's right at support, so I don't want it to be below here, but if you could stop loss around 3,200, that'd be nice, but just below here, around 3,300, that'd be a good stop loss if you're really, really low leverage. But honestly, I mean, probably just, 3,390 or something around there, just so stop loss isn't too far away. But that'd be an area I would watch though. But yeah, 35 to 3,600, great long area for Ethereum. And then resistance-wise, 3,850 is going to be a resistance, followed by 4,000, and then this EMA here at 4,100, another big resistance. So keep an eye on those. And then finally, Solana. So Solana right now, 175 is a nice level to long. 173 to 176, good level to long. Stock RSI is still showing bearish momentum. RSI crossing to the downside below its signal line. Bearish momentum. Again, I am not in a rush at all to buy Solana. Like, I'm not in a rush to buy it at 182. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It bounced nicely. But I'm being patient, waiting for that 173 to 176 level. Being patient, guys. Being very patient right now. With that said, where's resistance? Well, it's going to be near this 200 EMA at 187. 187, and then looking at around 192. And then this 50 EMA on the daily, big resistance as well, around 200 to 201. So big levels of resistance. Support, like I said, 173 to 176. Look for those levels. But with that said, guys, I'll see what questions you guys have. All right. Hootie says, CD, do you think getting in Solana long at 179 to 182 is a good play now? No. 173 to 176 is my play on Solana. AB says, do you think the bottom is in? Not yet. It's close, though. Aculite says, doing workout now. Nice. Health is wealth, guys. Andrew says, appreciate you as always. What shares are worth investing in right now? Honestly, I mean, for shares, if you're talking about just tokens, I see the standard Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. Potentially Hyperliquid is another one. So if you can get a hype trade going, I mean, just look at this bounce off 42.40. Beautiful bounce, guys. Beautiful, beautiful bounce. But I don't like this overbought stock RSI. I don't like it. I'm not going to buy when it's like this. I'm sorry. So if you're looking to buy, I mean, $40 to $42 could be a good entry if it comes back down. But yeah, I'd be a buyer closer to 40. Actually, if you can get 38.70 to 40, great buy area, guys, because it coincides with the daily 200 EMA. Great buy area there. Let's see. AB says, can we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance and USDT? Yeah, and let me go ahead and widen this chat box so you guys can see it. All right, so yeah, we'll go ahead and look at Bitcoin dominance. All right, so let's go on the weekly. This is what I drew, I think last week, is this 50 EMA now should act as resistance on the weekly. We should reject off of 60%, reject down, and look at this. The stock RSI on the weekly is almost overbought, guys. This is what you want to see. This is what you want to see if you want to top out on Bitcoin dominance. Close to overbought. I like that. So coinciding with the 50 EMA here, I like that as well. So if Bitcoin dominance rejects, that's good for alts, right? Now, yes, the RSI still has some room to go, but stock RSI could give us some temporary downside, maybe next week or the week after. So good to see on there. Support still going to be at 58.9%. So again, that does give us some good room to run if Bitcoin rejects here. Now let's go ahead and look at the USDT dominance as well. So that's another one I'd like to look at. Now here's something that's concerning, guys. Here's something that's concerning. Is look at this trend line on USDT dominance. Rejected multiple times, rejected, but now it's breaking a major uptrend, or a major trend line resistance, and a 200 EMA. That doesn't look good, guys. That doesn't look good. Okay, let me tell you what. If USDT dominance closes the weekly above 5.25%, we are like going much lower. I will draw this as a red line in the sand, because if we close above this, guys, look out below. I'll tell you that right now. Now, the bright side is the USDT dominance is overbought. I'll take that on the weekly. So now the question becomes, is USDT dominance going to close at 5.05% or lower? We still got 2.5 days left. It's still very possible. But keep an eye on this chart, guys. Keep an eye on this chart. This is going to be, if you guys want to draw this on the weekly, just start at the top of this little wick on November 2022, and then just draw a diagonal. USDT dominance now, yeah. I hope this doesn't close above it. That'd be bad. AB says the U.S. government shutdown ending. Still no confirmation yet. It's the second longest shutdown in history. It's just more drama. Honestly, I wouldn't pay attention to it. No. And no, it's not true. Luke's a great guy. I've hung out with him multiple times. Let's see. EF says, what's going on with KTA, bro? I'm so down on it. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's just when the market goes down, everything goes down. Not much you can do at that point, honestly. Like KTA is back to 40 cents. Okay, and this is something we were talking about as well. Is that we're looking at this on the daily, and I was saying I'm not buying because it's overbought on the stock RSI. Okay, also it's coming up against resistance on this 50 EMA, and so yeah, that's where. I mean, it was just a lot of indicators were overbought on it. So I said the first entry I'd be looking at would be 37 cents. That'd be my first. I said, well, I've said I think 43, and then I said 37. So this is the area at 37 potentially, but really, if you want to buy it at 27, 28, that'd be the best level. Unfortunately, it's just bearish momentum in a lot of things. A lot of things look like this right now. A lot of things are crossing below their signal line on the RSI. Stock RSI is overbought. So at the very least, guys, 36, 37 cents. Very least, I'd wait for KTA for that level. And then if you want a DCA spot at 28 cents, there you go. But as far as any patterns I'm trying to see here, I mean, I'm trying to draw this downtrend line somewhat. But yeah, as far as patterns, I would say I'm trying. Nah. I mean, really, it's almost a downtrend pattern in a way. And it's not the strongest, right? But yeah, just keep in mind, KTA 37 and 28. I like to see these indicators reset though, at the very least. Let's see, just USC says, what's the odds of ETH hitting 45 to 4,600 before the end of November? I think the odds, 2 days ago, I would say very, very good. Now, 50-50. Hootie says, just curious, are you in the e-com space at all? So I'm not, Hootie. I'm not, but I will be attending Luke's workshop that he has. It's going to be very fruitful. Usama says, let's look at BNB. Let's do it, Usama. Let's look at it. Yeah, guys, a lot of indicators look the same. RSI is below its signal line. Stock RSI is crossing below its signal line. Yes, we're near support. That's a silver lining on BNB. As long as 1,050 holds, it's good. If the daily closes below 1,050, which is also below its daily 50 EMA, look out below. We're going to $900. That'd be my next buy level for BNB is 900. If we close below 1,050. Resistance is going to be 1,150. And then 1,300. Don says, what are your thoughts on the tweezer bottom on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart? Does that mean anything? Not really, Don. It's only a short-term signal. Really, you want to look at daily or weekly candlesticks patterns to have a really good effect. Now, with that said, the 4-hour does have... The 4-hour is more for scalping, if anything. So, yes, the 4-hour is majorly oversold, which is very good, right? Oversold on the RSI, oversold on stock RSI. And you also have like a little triple bottom here forming. So, yeah, Bitcoin does look good with that, okay? So, that would be something where, yes, we could have some short-term relief, probably potentially up to 110, actually, on Bitcoin. We could have a nice little move here from this 4-hour oversold. So the 4-hour is good for that, I will say, for identifying scalps, absolutely. Damien says, do you think we'll hit a BTC all-time high by the end of the year? I think so. AB, what about ETH BTC? ETH BTC, let's check it out. Got about 5 minutes left in the stream. Let's go ahead and... So ETH BTC on the 4-hour looks good. Looks good, actually. Actually, look at this. We had a little bullish divergence. So we had a lower low on price, but then a higher low on the stock RSI. Yes, RSI was the lower low, so 50-50 there. But if we look at the daily, let's see. Daily indicators don't look good. RSI's rejected off of the signal line. Stock RSI, bearish momentum. But I'm still watching this support. If this support holds at 0.035, okay, maybe a retest here of 036 on the 50 EMA. I'll give it that. I'll give it that if it can hold here, that we could do something like that potentially to reach this 50 EMA. but then potentially come back down afterwards. Okay. But let's see. Let's see, right? The big level I was watching on the ETH BTC chart, and all you guys need to have this as well, is this trendline resistance from September 2022. So this thing here, where we had, let's see, and I drew this like this, where it looked like we're going to cross above it. But yeah, like, I mean, this, it had a, I'm trying to connect this the best way possible. Like, there's really no best way to connect this line, all right? But at the end of the day, this trend line is definitely something to watch. So if we're crossing below it again, not the best. But look at this. The weekly 50 EMA is right at 034. 034 or 03, yeah, 034. So that could be a bounce if this level fails. Also, you see its horizontal support as well at 034. So that's what I would watch. Stock RSI is getting oversold on the weekly. Good sign. Let's see if we have any bounce from here. Again, the ETH staking ETF should be approved today. Let's keep an eye on that. Let me know if you guys see that at all, if you're in the Page Hunters group. Let's see. Honestly, EF, do you just take the loss and exit on KTA? I mean, it's hard to say. Like, you could say if it closes below 37 cents on the daily, then yeah, I'd probably get out. AB, what do you expect for the month of November? I expect a lot of volatility, probably bearish for the first half and bullish for the second half as people front run the end of QT. Yeah, if you're in spot EF, if it closes below the daily, below 37 cents, probably I get out. Hey, what's going on, QTEX? Good to see you. Maximilian, do you think 50 cents for Brett is realistic? All-time high is 20 cents. No. Well, actually, no, I don't think it's realistic. I think Brett has lost a lot of traction. I'll check the chart because I saw one of my members ask about Brett not too long ago. I'll check it out because I know base was gaining some traction. I mean, but here's the thing, guys. You just got to look at this. I mean, Brett's been in a downtrend for a while. Yes, the stock RSI on the weekly is oversold, so there is that silver lining there. But look how long it was oversold before, right? I mean, it was just down only. Still down from being oversold here. So here's the thing. I'll tell you this. It's not at a bad buy level right now. You get easy invalidation if you're holding Brett right now. If it closes the weekly below 023, get out. Get out. That would be your invalidation, okay? Weekly close below 023. If it holds, first take profit would be 3 cents, and then above that 3.7 cents. But I mean, Brett needs a miracle at this point because it has not been strong at all. Like, all you got to do is just look at this trend line resistance. It's, if you draw a trend line right here, I mean, just look at that downtrend, right? Like, it's just rejected, 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 rejected. So first thing, if Brett can break above, if it can do something like boom, then yeah, I'd change my mind. Until then, just play it safe. Daily close below 023, get out. Or yeah, even a daily close below 023, get out. I wouldn't even wait for a weekly close. Weekly close is like a nail in the coffin at that point. Stone in Paradise says, would you recommend rotating to stocks like Apple, Amazon, Open, AI, and Nvidia instead of crypto till we cool off? You know, that may not be a bad choice, you know, a bad decision to do that because stocks are still outperforming and crypto's been in the gutter. And so, yes, you got to go where the strength is at. The strength is actually in AI tokens, AI stocks as well. And so, yeah, I would say at the very least, diversify. Invest 30, 40, 50% in stocks. Absolutely. They are near all-time highs, which is my only apprehension. But at the end of the day, you're looking at relative performance, and they've been performing well. Crypto's been performing very poorly. Ivan says, what do you think happens between now and December with the possible end of QT? I think probably short-term bearish till mid-November, and then probably pump into December. Uncle Mike says, if we hold all spot, we should be good once Bitcoin hits all-time highs, right? Yes and no, because it's not a standard alt season like you're used to seeing. Bitcoin can hold its value while alts bleed. And so your altcoin could be 50% by the time Bitcoin reaches all-time high if Bitcoin dominance rises, right? Like, it's not always a one-to-one like it used to be, meaning if Bitcoin rises 50%, it doesn't mean every other altcoin is going to rise 50% or 100% or more. It's all about relative strength. What altcoins have been showing relative strength compared to Bitcoin? Look at the pairs. Look at the Sol Bitcoin pair. Look at the ETH Bitcoin pair. Look at the Hype Bitcoin pair, right? Look at whatever altcoin you're holding. Look at the pairing against Bitcoin. For example, if you look at Brett, if you look at, see, does Brett BTC even have anything? No, but here's how you can do it, okay? If you just go to Brett and then you pull up Bitcoin and you pull up, you pull up Bitcoin plus the addition symbol, BTC, and you pull up same percentage price scale. I mean, same percentage price scale, if you look at since, I'll just put it in yellow so you can see it easier. If you look at the price of Bitcoin and how much it's appreciated, 13%, while Brett's gone down 78% from the beginning of the year. If you zoom in, okay, since April, Bitcoin's went up 29%, while Brett's still break even. Now, if you zoom in even more, look at this. Bitcoin is down -7% since August. Brett's down -55%. You see what I mean, guys? Bitcoin's been holding relative strength all this time. So that's the thing, is you just got to be honest with yourself at this point. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my rant on that. Maximilian says, not as bad as Injective and Render, at least. Yeah, it's pretty horrible. This is making me miss the 2021 cycle. I know, Ed. Same here. 2021 was bliss compared to this. Stone in Paradise says, do you really think Astra and Avianti are done? I don't like them. Honestly, I don't like the way they're trading. I look at relative strength. They haven't been giving me a reason why I should buy them over Hyperliquid, Solana, Ethereum, and other, blue chips. Until they break major trend, downtrends, and until they start showing some higher lows, then there's no reason to buy them. Bai says, how do you feel about crypto being decentralized while all this is happening, like institution and government interest? Decentralized is a relative term at this point. It's very subjective because, yes, crypto saying it's decentralized, yet there's a lot of control that's happening with banks and institutions and everything else, everyone else. And so if they're holding a large portion, they're controlling a lot of this market. Is it really decentralized? I don't think so. I think it's decentralized was a pipe dream. Now it's more centralized than ever. Just look at all the exchanges in bed with the government. Look at all the control that's happened with institutions and banks and everything now. It's, that's why I think Zcash and all these privacy tokens were doing good, because that's the core of what crypto was, privacy. Now, not really. So, you just got to, you got to adjust, and you got to just go where the attention's at, because where attention goes, money flows, as Luke always says. But with that, guys, that is going to conclude the live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. The big thing here, the big takeaway I wanted all of you guys to get is, yes, there is a lot of bearishness with, the FOMC meeting and Powell saying that he may not cut interest rates in December. Okay, that was the big talk of the town. And with that said, again, yes, he's going to end QT December 1st, which may create some short-term hype. But if the Fed isn't going to start QE or monetary stimulus for a while after that, then it could just be a moot point. And at that point, we still see some downward trending in December, January, February until the money printer starts turning on again. So we'll have to see. Is Powell going to get out of office in December? Is Trump going to replace him? What's going to happen between China and the U.S.? Is Trump going to remove those tariffs? Is he not going to implement them? Are they going to come to more agreements? There's a lot of questions still. When's the government going to reopen? That's another question. And so all these questions still remain. And so that's why I said, guys, just be patient. And at the end of the day, sometimes the best trade is no trade at all. So if you guys aren't following me on X as well, definitely do so at the CryptoData. I post a lot of content for you guys as much as I can. Check my pinned message. Check all the stuff I have. Post a lot of motivational quotes as well. So make sure you guys are checking those out. But again, guys, appreciate you all. Much love. Hope you guys have a great week. Have a great weekend. I will be streaming as well tomorrow, same time, near 5 p.m. CST. Going to be talking about how to use game theory in crypto. So stay tuned for that, guys. Again, much love. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk soon.